Good evening and a warm welcome to Big Budget Business, where we highlight prolific individuals making strides in their respective fields. Today's show is a very important show because we are speaking about home ownership. So you might want to stay glued to your screen today. We are speaking to the head of home loans at Stanbic Bank, Mr. Macmillan Teku. So enjoy the show. So, Mr. Teku, thank you very much for being on the show. The first question that we'll have for you is for you to introduce yourself to our viewers out there. Who is Mr. Macmillan Teku?
Thank you, Dumi. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the interview. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the show. So, like I've already said, my name is Macmillan Teku. Macmillan Teku is head of home loans, Stanbic Bank. Particularly, Mac, as I'm affectionately called by a lot of people, I'm a banker. I'll just say that I'm a banker. I've been in banking for over a decade now, working in various things. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's quite a while.
Yeah, working in various things, and currently I work in property. I work as head of home loans, basically working and bringing solutions to homeowners. Try and facilitate home ownership as much as we possibly can as a bank, and trying to close the gap between that demand and that supply with financing people who have and who are willing to be part of the journey. So background, I'm a graduate obviously of the university. I have a bachelor's degree, BSc in finance and mathematics. I also have a master's degree. And a few other qualifications. I'm in the process as well of acquiring an accreditation from the Retail Banking Academy of the UK. So I am a retail banker at heart, and I guess this interview is going to reveal more of the things that I do so that people can understand. That's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for that, Mac. One thing I did pick up there is the importance of continuous professional development. You did mention the masters. You did mention that there's also some certification that you're getting for your specific field. So I think our viewers will see the importance of continuous professional development. My next question, Mac, is from your perspective, why do you think that home ownership is an issue of importance for us as generally youth, whether in professional settings or as youth in business? Why is property ownership important?
Yeah, Dumi, if I may take you back, if you understand, there are potentially three basic needs that a human being has to have. So it's clothing, it's food, and it's shelter.
Yeah.
So housing comes under shelter, and it's particularly important as financiers or as financial institution to make sure that in the jurisdiction where we operate, we enable the people who are there, the people in the markets where we operate, to be able to have these basic needs, either it be food, shelter, or clothing, however we are going about doing it. And home ownership is important, especially for the youth, because it provides a sense of firstly security. It provides a sense of comfort to some level. And also, not only does it give you that sense of comfort or sense of security or sense of accomplishment, it also gives you an opportunity to invest. It gives you an opportunity to become an investment vehicle that can be able to generate some income for you, perhaps in the medium term or in the long term. So particularly home ownership, we want to prioritize home ownership facilitation for the youth, so that they can benefit from the they can also benefit from the numerous avenue in which this thing can bring some value.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mac. And, I did pick up the fact that it's a need. It's one of the three basic needs, so it would fall under shelter. Yes. And also the investment aspect of it. Me buying a home actually reflects, my seriousness with respect to investing and getting potential future returns. So thank you so much. Thank you. So now you did say that you facilitate home ownership. So please talk to us about Stanbic Bank's 100% home loan financing scheme. What exactly does it entail?
All right. I'll start by saying, Dumi, we're an African bank. Stanbic Bank is part of Stanbic Bank is part of Standard Bank. As you know, it's a bank that is widely spread through Africa, and we believe that as an organization, we have that responsibility as a financier operating in different markets to be able to bring solutions that talk specifically to the needs of the people in the markets we operate in. And we have realized that if you understand, the statistics do prove that home ownership is one of those things that are lagging behind in terms of people owning their own homes. So as we come in as Stanbic Bank, our desire and our intention is for us to make home ownership as accessible to as many people as possible, to make it accessible and affordable, not only just accessible, but also accessible and affordable to as many people as possible. So hence we came up with solutions. And so these solutions actually, drive that cause. And one of the solutions, as you've already mentioned, is our facilitation through 100% financing for first-time home buyers. And what we are saying as Stanbic Bank, we are saying if someone is a first-time home buyer, we have identified actually maybe just to take you back before I explain the offering, to say we have identified that there are a lot of barriers to entry, especially for people who want to enter into the property market, but they do not particularly have that sort of the resources, if I might put it. And one of the resources that have come up very clearly is the deposits that traditionally were demanded by banking institutions, to say if you are Dumi, you want to buy a property, if you want to buy, I'm going to give an example, the property that costs 600,000 to acquire, you need to bring 60,000 in cash. So traditionally, this is what banking institutions were doing, and it was proving to be a barrier to entry. It was proving to be difficult for people to come, first-time homeowners, to get into the property market. So we're saying we understand that, firstly, a lot of first-time home buyers are youth, young people, and young people might not be at that financial stability where they have amassed those levels of savings to be able to participate in the market as we may have put it. So what is that we were doing? What is it as a bank that we were doing to try and meet them halfway? And we said we would want to eliminate the deposit part for people who are purchasing or developing their own properties. Remember, it's not only about purchasing, it's also about helping clients develop their own properties, who are developing properties in urban and semi-urban areas, to be able to say, if you come to us in Gaborone, surrounding areas of Gaborone, Francistown and Palape, we say we do not require you to bring any deposit forward. So that basically says the bank will cover the purchase price, or if you are buying, I'll use the example of buying, will cover all of the purchase price of the property, so that you have less of a burden in terms of financial demands to bring into the transaction, and it's made as easy as possible if you can afford to repay back the bank in equal monthly installments. So we facilitate that for you. So entry to home ownership is made easier for our clients and for the youth, as you have already mentioned.
I think that's definitely a great initiative, especially because you did mention a fact that, as young people, sometimes we may not have amassed that amount of savings which is required for that deposit. So you facilitate this process by ensuring that the bank covers absolutely everything.
Yeah, so the bank does cover the total cost, but you'd understand, to me, that there may be other costs that are associated with purchase of property, which are your legal fees, your valuations. And we have also, just as Stanbic Bank, gone an extra mile to say we understand that some of these fees prove to be a bit of a challenge. They may become steep. So we are saying if a client purchases or gets financing through us to purchase or develop a property, we pay for their valuation fees over and above the 100% financing that we give them. We pay for their valuation fees, and we also pay for their bond registration fees. Understanding that, to my point of savings, it might also prove to be challenging if the client hasn't got those amounts of savings to facilitate the transaction. So we try to take as much of financial burden from the transaction as possible, so that we make this an accessible solution. We also make it a practical and applicable solution to the needs of our clients.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Mac. Okay, and you did say practical and applicable solution. So perhaps let's walk through the process. I come to you as Dumi, as BigBudget, and I would like to purchase a home. I require your assistance. Perhaps walk me through the actual process and highlight also where those fees that you did mention, where do they come in, and how do you help exactly as the bank?
Yes, sir. Do me, the first thing that I would give to our clients is that budget is important. Your show is called BigBudget, so budget is
absolutely.
Budget finance, yes. Budget is important in a sense that it helps the client to decide, make informed decisions. So we always encourage our clients to say whenever they want to embark in the home ownership or the property journey, they need to first establish the budget. And establishment of their budget, it can be given through the advice of their bankers. So they are free to visit our representation wherever they are and be able to get advice or reach us through email. We're available also on email. I'll give the details post the show. So to reach us to say, Mac or the team, I have this desire to get a property. Are you able to sort of advise me to see how I can structure my finances? This is where I'm at. My financial position is here. So the clients, we really want to encourage the clients to start there so that they are able to establish their position and establish their budget. Once you have your budget, you should then be able to say, okay, the budget allows me to get a property in location X, and this type of property that I want to get it could be in location Y. So then we also help you. Not only do we help you with the advice for budget, we also help you to say the properties that are available in your range or in your budget, they are found in location X, and this could be the potential accredited real estate agents who are eager to give you the advice or professional advice, or also the listings in those areas, and we can facilitate that link up with those professionals to be able to help you with that sort of decision. And once you are happy with a property, you've identified it, and we also have established that budget, we're happy to finance you, then yes, we process your application. And obviously to process your application is to get your approval, and once the approval is obtained, then they remember the property transaction is it's the one with a lot of stakeholders, and banks or financiers just happen to be part of that value chain that facilitate home ownership. And one of the key people who facilitate home ownership are the attorneys or the lawyers, people who facilitate transfers from the previous to the new owner. They also facilitate bond registration for purposes of security to the bank. So then those people do handle that transaction through the deeds office. They also get tax quotations or transfer duty quotations or waivers, however the Botswana Unified Revenue Service will put it like. So then they are important in that sense to make sure that the transaction is done as legitimately as possible. So once that part where it goes to the BRS, it also goes to deeds, is completed, the person who actually sells you the house is paid off, and you obtain the keys and you become a homeowner. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. So quite a comprehensive process over there. Perhaps if you could touch on, you did mention this value chain. And that the financiers, the bank is just one key player in that value chain. Perhaps take us through the different members of this value chain. Which institutions, you mentioned lawyers and the like. Please tell us exactly who is involved in this overall process.
Yeah. So the first things that I'll take you through is the people who actually, after you identify or after you go to identify what your budget is, you would have to visit a real estate agent. So real estate agents are important in a sense that they would give you, firstly, professional advice based on market trends, based on what they have been seeing, sales that have been converted, and they also have access to information around deeds registration and bonds like that. So they'll give you advice to say location X or location Y. And in essence, also they'll also give you the type of listings or the listings that they have to say, we'll have these listings. If your budget does allow, you can choose from the listings that you have. So those are the people who are key to bring the available properties in the market to our clients. And the other stakeholder that is also important is people who are property valuers. So property valuers do advise us as the bank. They also advise you as the purchaser of the value of the property versus what the seller might have given it to you at. So they'll give you the open market value. I'll just explain to say open market value basically is just an average market sentiment of what the property may be sold at or bought at. Definitely pushed by largely the forces of demand and supply and other factors that come into play. So they would give you a market value so that you know if you enter into a transaction, this is the value that I'm purchasing, this is the value that I'm acquiring in the form of property. So then we have the banks as well. I've explained what we do. Our purpose is to provide financing to facilitate the transaction in terms of the money, to be able to make sure that the person who sells is paid at the end of the transaction, and then the person who buys obtains funds to be able to pay the seller. And then we have the lawyers. I've explained what the lawyers do. So they basically deal with transfers, they basically deal with bond registrations, and if there are bonds, cancellation of bonds, if the cancellation of bonds to be dealt with. So the lawyers deal with the legal aspect of the transaction and to make sure that the transaction is done as legitimately as possible. We also have government institutions in there who are key players. We have the Botswana Unified Revenue Service, who are particularly responsible for tax assessments and also transfer duty assessments. And we also have the deeds office, who are responsible for where actually the transaction does happen and it's registered, and the bonds are also registered in favor of whichever institution is financing. You would also know that we would have your councils, your land boards, who are also helping with things like compliance certification of properties, rates, and so forth. But largely, those are the key players, main key players in a mortgage transaction. So you see that the banks play part of them. So they are quite a couple of them. And as you have said before, there are some fees as well that are charged by these various stakeholders for the service that they render to the client. And one of the things is the valuations. People who do valuations would charge a fee for the assessment that they make, for the opinion, the professional opinion that they give. The lawyers will charge fees for facilitating transactions, your transfers, your bond registration. They will charge a fee for that. The BRS, they'll make an assessment if you are eligible for transfer duty to be paid. They will give a fee note. If you are eligible to have a waiver on the transfer duty, also they will also provide guidance around that. So all these stakeholders play together. So a mortgage transaction it goes through a value chain. So all these all these players play on together so that service is given to the client, and also the needs of the client are fulfilled at the end of the day.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Now, at least we have an understanding of the key players in this value chain, as well as the fees that arise at different points. But maybe a side note there. This 100% financing that is being done by the bank, is it specifically for existing properties, or am I able to purchase land and then develop? I think you did touch a bit on that, but maybe please just specify what it applies to.
Yes, sir. So 100% financing, as a bank, we have solutions that appeal to the needs of the client. So yes. One client might want to purchase an already built house. Another client might want to build a house that is specific to their taste, their preference, and obviously their budget. Yes. So we assist clients to be able to do both, to be able to purchase readily built houses. You would understand that they are readily built houses in a form of a standalone home. Yes. They are also apartments. They are also townhouses, which are usually found in developed estates, sort of thing like that. So we do finance spaces, property spaces in those categories. We also assist clients who do not want to perhaps live in a pre-built home and they want to develop it themselves. Yes. To say client can approach us and they do not necessarily need to come having a plot. They can approach us for finance of a plot and development of a structure simultaneously, so that at the end of the day the client has a home. So we are able to do both, to me, and we are able to assist the client as per their need. If the client has identified a plot, we're able to just guide them around and be able to help them acquire the property that they wish to stay in.
Absolutely. So you did touch on the fact that, we have differing needs and you cater to both scenarios.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, maybe now, if I'd like to get this service, right, how can I access it? And is there any documentation required on my part? Perhaps just a scenario where I'm coming to you to get this assistance. What should I bring? What's required of me?
Yes. Thank you, Dumi. I think the first thing that would obviously require from you is your identification documents. Identification documents as a client, your income documents that ascertain the level of income that you have, whether it be a proof of income, whether it be a payslip, or if you're owning a company, financials and things like that. So. Yeah. It would actually just help us then to assess the budget, and ascertain a budget, as I've already mentioned about budget. So we also need, if you are buying a property, we also need the offers from the sellers, obviously. They need to give you offers to say, I'm willing as Dumi to sell my property to so and so. So there needs to be that proof. And they'll also give you documents associated with that, being perhaps copy of the title deed and the identification as well, for us to be able to process that transaction. So we are reachable through our branch network. So as you know, as Stanbic Bank, we have branches across the country. Not only are we reachable through our branch network, we're also reachable online. We have our email, our centralized emails, which is homeloans@stanbic.com, where clients can actually scan and email. And this time of COVID, we really encourage our clients to reach us electronically. They can reach us electronically, and we are able to just make assessment and give advice over email, and perhaps also over telephone. So just to guide. Sometimes the clients may have questions that might not necessarily be able to answer over email. So we also have telephone lines. You can reach us on 361-8152, 361-8152 for further clarification. So if you have your identification documents, your income documents, they are sufficient for us to give you an initial assessment. And we are able also to say, to confirm, even in writing, to say, Dumi does actually qualify for this much, and we are able to, so that when you go around shopping for properties, or you go and visit other stakeholders, there is confirmation, in fact, from the bank. Or when you have, there's a seller who's selling, the seller would say, no, but I can't give you my property if I don't know if you're going to get finance. Then you can actually produce that proof that the bank is ready and will be able to finance you in the event that you get an offer from them.
Wow, that's wonderful. So basically, identification documentation as well as sort of proof of income is what.
Income, yeah.
Oh, all right. No, thank you so much for that. Right. Any final thoughts that you may have with respect to this issue of home ownership? And also, maybe if you let us know how the uptake has been with respect to the scheme. Are young people warming up to the scheme and using this facility?
Yes, sir. Our passion is really young people. The reason why I'm saying our passion is really young people, not that there's any exclusion to, of course, to the older generation, but our passion is young people simply because traditionally mortgage has been perceived as the thing for the older.
Yes.
Has also been perceived as a thing for people perhaps who are in certain ages or established to a certain degree. But we are saying, we're coming to say home ownership is accessible, and we are as an institution working to make it as accessible to young people and young professionals. You did mention, I know also your passion is around young professionals, young people. Yes, to make it as accessible to the young professionals as possible. And we have really seen an uptake from the young people and warming up to the offerings, and also warming up in terms of the bank relating to their needs. I think the key thing is, are we able as financial institutions generally to relate to the needs of our clients, of the people in the markets that we operate in? If we do appeal to their needs, so there's obviously interest generated from the market. So we are excited, and we are continuing in this journey. And I want to encourage young people to say, please don't close yourself out. Go out, find information. Get guided, contact your banker, find out how much you can be able to afford, get a guidance as to which properties are available in the market, so that you should be able to get the type of property and the type of financing that you need for housing your family, potentially. Some people I know, Dumi, you might be getting married probably in the next year or two. I just broke it out there. Absolutely. So please, man, this is how it. Our advice, and perhaps my last words to our listeners, to say, don't exclude yourself, find out your eligibility and get the guidance, get all the information. So information helps us make the right choices financially. So we have to make the right information financially, and to know when to invest, and to actually get ourselves into debt that will in the long run prove to be beneficial.
Mr. Macmillan Teku, Head of Home Loans, Stanbic Bank. Let me thank you so much for this informative and insightful interview that we've just had. I really think young people should take this opportunity. But really, thank you so much, Mr. Teku, for your time.
Thank you, Dumi. Thank you also for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to perhaps explain this and just give some insight also to our listeners. And we look forward to having more of these any day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Teku. Have yourself a wonderful evening.
Have yourself, sir.
Good.
All my enemies will suffer my wrath, but those of my household will enjoy my embrace. I refuse to let my weakness get the best of me. Be more hard and less attack.
All right, so today's 2-minute tip. As a chartered wealth manager, in my interactions with different individuals and companies, we have seen the need for more robust financial literacy training. So the next few episodes of our Big Budget Business Show will have 2-minute tip components that relate to financial literacy. And today we'll speak on personal finances and give you basic reasons why you might find yourself overspending. So why do I overspend? Number one, the feeling of missing out, what is also called FOMO. Now, you'll find yourself buying expensive things in terms of clothing or jewelry just to fit in. Let's see that we don't get ourselves into this overspending mix because of FOMO. Number two, impulsive buying. I think we've all found ourselves in stores and picking up things that we don't necessarily need just out of impulse or in the spur of the moment. So let's try and avoid impulsive buying. Number three, unforeseen emergencies where there is no proper planning. Now, these unforeseen emergencies, please ensure that you save for a rainy day so that you don't find yourself overspending on these unforeseen emergencies. And lastly, the absence of a budget. You see, a budget can help you list the items that you necessarily need, and it can help you to build your discipline and stick to that list such that you don't overspend. So once again, 4 basic reasons that we find ourselves overspending. Number one, the feeling of missing out. Number two, impulsive buying. Number three, unforeseen eventualities. And number 4, the absence of a budget. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful show. As always, it's a pleasure having you view us. From me, Big Budget, and the team that makes it happen, Black Network, Moana Pictures, it's good night and God bless. And never forget that you were born for so much more.